We want to check in with our media partners from thevoiceofoc.org for an update on what's happening this week in Orange County government and politics.
Here to talk about the issues in the news right now, we welcome the editor-in-chief for Voice of OC, Norberto Santana. How you doing, Norberto?
Good, Ann. Thanks for having me.
Good, good. We're glad to have you on. Let's start first of all with the county. Orange County Board of Supervisors voted on Tuesday they were going to appeal the judge's ruling that required the county to pay $147 million that it withheld from the state. Talk a little bit more. Let's back up just a second. What was the loss of the $147 million all about in the first place?
This is a super ugly one in the county of Orange this last couple of months. This stems back to the 1994 bankruptcy debt allowed county officials to essentially get a special set-aside of vehicle license fees from the state. That was a great situation. It worked out well. Back in about 2005, when county supervisors refinanced the debt, the one thing that they quietly really didn't tip anybody on was that they had disconnected this special deal with Sacramento. Well, you can imagine America's most Republican county is now resting on assistance from the most Democratic legislature probably in the country, and it's not going well. Once this disconnect was disconnected, county leaders basically didn't do anything. All of these well-paid lobbyists that they have, this army of internal lobbyist advocates inside the agencies, all of them seemingly just dropped the ball. And frankly, there was media coverage at the time that put them all on notice that this disconnect needed to be handled, and they simply just dropped the ball. When Sacramento called them on it, Governor Jerry Brown's budget staff found this money in 2011, took it back. Supervisors basically cried foul and then went to the auditor controller and asked him to basically ignore Sacramento and give them the money. Well, a couple of weeks ago, an Orange County Superior Court judge, where they were expected to possibly win, said no. They agreed with the state that what they did was completely improper. Now they're facing, as you said, a $147 million hole in their budget. They just adopted that, or they just unveiled it last week. So the situation is incredibly ugly, and at this point, it's just a finger-pointing match between everybody kind of saying, who knows why this happened.
Well, they say they're going to appeal, but talk about what's going to happen right now with the budget.
Well, you're right. They did unveil a $5.4 billion budget. Right now, it's a status quo budget. They really aren't proposing any cuts at all. Obviously, there's a lot of sensibility over layoffs. It could, $147 million. The thing to keep in mind here is it's about $73 million a year. So it just doesn't end. If they lose this money, they lose it forever moving forward. And that would mean some real structural changes over at the county. At this point, though, this week they voted to appeal, which will allow them to kind of run out the clock. And at this point, everyone is hoping that they can cut some kind of a deal in Sacramento.
And that money, if the $147 million was to be paid back, say, today, is that in a lump sum, like we have to pay it all now, or can you sort of pay it off over time?
Well, that's what we have to hope, that these county supervisors, that our state assembly members, that this army of lobbyists and legislative advocates can somehow do what they're paid to do, which is go up to Sacramento and figure out a way, if they are found to owe this money, that it can be possibly done as a payment plan or something along those lines. But you're right, if they had to come up with this money right away, it would be quite a hit.
Yeah, well.
Talking about the County Board of Supervisors, they awarded a contract to a company in a fraud scandal. What's this all about?
Another interesting one that, again, some lessons here in this county just aren't necessarily assimilated. SAIC, a very large government IT contractor, recently got about a $100 million IT contract at the Board of Supervisors. However, it came out that county staff, the IT people, hadn't even asked these people about a massive contract IT scandal they suffered in New York, with several employees being charged, I believe, by the U.S. attorney there. Supervisor Todd Spitzer had serious concerns. This is a company that's basically in a form of receivership, probation, where they have a federal monitor now that is there to monitor all of their IT contracts. Supervisor Morlock kind of pointed out that it's actually maybe a good thing for Orange County, in the sense that we have now a special federal monitor keeping an eye on our IT contract, which is probably a first for us. IT is an area in government, even though we hear a lot about pensions, bleeding money, IT is one of those areas that is huge in terms of cost overruns. Most supervisors and their staffs don't even understand really when you start getting these discussions about IT issues. It can be very volatile. What they did secure, and I think made most of the supervisors calm, was the fact that they are going to have this federal contract monitor. Supervisor Todd Spitzer asked to have those reports forwarded to the Board of Supervisors, which did sort of calm some of their fears.
Okay, we're still talking about Orange County agencies now. A grand jury report came back describing an atmosphere of fear among many Orange County agencies. Break that down as to what exactly that means for the people who were reporting that they felt uncomfortable.
Well, it's a great point, and this is something that county supervisors took very, they issued their own response immediately to the grand jury report. The grand jury report was scathing. It said it interviewed about 20 different county employees who basically painted a, quote, disturbing pattern of sexual harassment claims being overlooked, ignored, poorly investigated, and even suppressed. I mean, that's pretty serious stuff. Right now, there are a series of lawsuits swirling around the county. Let's not forget that last year, a top executive, Carlos Bustamante, was, in a sense, fired after the district attorney filed 12 different felony sex crime cases against him. All of them involved women that worked underneath him as secretaries, assistants. The big question is this over at the county? The supervisors say yes. The county grand jury says you've got a long way to go.
Okay, Norberto, we thank you very much. And we want to talk about this Santa Ana jail cost. We'll do that next time around. So I appreciate very much you being with us as usual. For more on these stories and other political news throughout Orange County, go to voiceofoc.org.